Hello everyone, I'm bringing you a video today looking at another example of a bandolier. Now the previous video looked at 17th century bandoliers, some replicas of those, reproductions of those, which basically showed how the design functioned and basically how ammunition was generally carried during the 17th century. What we're having a look at here is an early 20th century design, which basically derives from lessons learned or perceived lessons learned towards the very end of the Victorian era by the British Army during the Boer War, where bandoliers were quite extensively used, notably by mounted infantrymen. And as a result of this, after the Boer War, the British Army introduced the 1903 pattern bandolier equipment. And we're looking at a component of that equipment here. This is a Mark II 50-round bandolier from the 1903 pattern equipment. And we're basically going to have a look at this, the various design features. It's an interesting break from previous designs of equipment the British Army had been using. Obviously, since 1871, the British Army had basically been using a set of equipment with two pouches at the front, supported on a waist belt. Whereas here, there were pouches on a waist belt, but they were carried in conjunction with a bandolier, which carried the bulk of the ammunition that was intended to be carried on the equipment. And that's what we're going to have a look at now. Also interesting to note, of course, that these are designed for ammunition in charges for use with the magazine Enfield rifles, charger loading magazine Enfield rifles, most notably, and of course, at this point, the short magazine Enfield rifle was coming into service and designed primarily for use with this weapon using 5-round chargers, and the pockets of the bandolier are designed around that, and that's what we're going to have a look at now. So here we have it. It's a Mark II example of the 50-round bandolier from the bandolier equipment. What makes this a Mark II is the simplified arrangement of buckle down here, the adjustment, the way this adjusts in. This sits down on the right hip when this is carried, and this section of the bandolier passes over the left shoulder, which means, of course, if you're reaching over with the right hand to withdraw ammunition, that makes sense from holding the rifle in the left hand and withdrawing ammunition with the right to feed into the fixed magazine on the rifle. The magazine is removable, of course, but primarily for cleaning. The Enfield rifle, which this is intended to be used with, of course, is a charger loading rifle. And this is a 50-round bandolier because each pocket, there are 5 in total, each pocket contains 2 5-round charges of .303 ammunition, as we'll see in just a moment. In terms of the overall construction, this is made of a grain leather, as you can see, and well, the pouches are made of a grain leather. The strap itself and passes over the shoulder is made of a smooth leather. And the pouch is closed with brass mushroom studs here, as you can see. We'll look at the inside face of this in a moment to see the construction, but you have the buckle arrangement down here with 2 buckles for adjustment, one to the rear and one just round to the front here, which connect to this triangular piece here. On the Mark I, this is sort of one large piece which has the buckles and so forth all joined on one piece of brass here at the hip, whereas in this case it's a much simpler setup with a triangular section of brass to link the 2 straps at the correct sort of angle at the hip. And then attached to this you also have a stabilizing strap here which passes around the belt of the equipment, and that can be set at different heights depending on where the belt sits, using this mushroom stud and these keyholes cut into the leather there, as you can see, and that's just riveted in place on the triangular section here. The bandolier itself is manufactured with rivets. It's put together with rivets, which is a good way of doing it, really. It's obviously, it doesn't rot and so forth in the same way stitching would do. Rivets are a more secure way of doing this. You can see here we have a buckle to adjust this in at the rear, and the strap simply comes up, doubles back through that in the same manner as the belt buckle. Fairly familiar, this set of equipment. And then obviously the buckle then also has the strap passed down through it. So it passes through the buckle, back up through this keeper here, and then through the buckle here, which gives you this adjustment at the rear. And here the strap just doubles back through the buckle, which is actually fixed in place with rivets there, as you can see. Looking at more of the inside face of this, you can see the details of the construction, how the pockets are attached at the front here. You have a section with a slot down the back, which means this is a bit more flexible around the body when this is carried. And you can see the pockets are riveted in place, and then, as you can see here, this is made of 2 sections, and that's riveted together behind the uppermost pocket here. You can see all the details of the construction there. Looking at the rear of this particular example is dated 1918, and you can see the manufacturer's mark here as well.
You can see 18 at the end of that there. Hopefully that's showing up clearly enough in camera. And then the ammunition carriage is simple enough, but it's not just one sort of open pocket inside. You also have this leather keeper, and I've put some early charges with inert ammunition in this end pocket just to show you how that works. Inside, you can open up the pocket here, and if you only want one charger out, you have a leather keeper which remains on the stud at the front. They both use the same brass mushroom stud at the front here, but the main flap and this retaining piece, which means you can withdraw a single 5-round charger if required, and then if you require the second, you just pull up this retainer and you can withdraw the second one. So it is possible to therefore load 5 rounds at a time and not you're not worried about accidentally withdrawing a charger you don't want to be using. So they're quite effective, the mushroom studs. It does work quite well. When you're carrying this, it's easy enough to reach up and open these up. Obviously, by modern standards, it's a pretty poor way of securing things, but on this leather equipment, it does work quite well, and this system will be used going forward. These pockets are mirrored in those which were used on the belt of the equipment as well. Those have a belt loop on the back and they slide onto the belt. The 10-round pockets, and there are also 15-round pockets as well, which initially looked very similar to this and then latterly had a different design, which is something we'll probably look at some point in the future. But as I say, I don't currently have really a set of equipment I can display on the mannequin in terms of having the greatcoat carrier as well, but I may put together what I've got to talk about, because it's quite an interesting set of equipment. That's the 50-round bandolier, which is sort of the basic ammunition carrying component of the bandolier equipment, and these were quite often used alone. You do see particularly Army Service Corps and so forth during the Great War. It's not uncommon to see these being used individually, or the waist belt being used with pouches attached to it. That is also seen as well. So it's not uncommon to see the equipment used not as a complete set, but components used for carriage of ammunition by those troops other than infantry who don't need a full load of ammunition. So it was certainly used in that capacity during the Great War quite extensively. And as I say, from that perspective is quite interesting, not only as an incremental step, but also for its actual use during the Great War for those troops not equipped with 1908. It's of course commonly used as a cavalry equipment as well during the course of the Great War, though this is, generally speaking, infantry bandolier, the 50-round bandolier as we have here. The cavalry had a different design of bandolier, which is beyond the scope of this video, but greater carrying capacity and so forth. So possibly something we'll talk about in the future. I don't have an example of one of those, but it may obviously talk about that in a bit more detail when I talk about the equipment as a whole. But that is a quick run through the 50-round bandolier as we have here.
So I do hope you found it interesting looking at this, from one set of bandoliers to a very different design here, as you can see, but nevertheless an interesting sort of hark back to carriage of ammunition slung across the body. And we see that here, rather than being carried in a pouch, ammunition is carried in pockets slung across the body. And as I say, this is based on perceived lessons learned during the Boer War. And from that point of view, quite an interesting development in British equipment. I would like to have a look at the 1903 pattern equipment in a bit more detail in the future. I am unfortunately missing a greatcoat carrier, and since I think Military History Workshop did produce them, but now Military History Workshop is no longer producing replica equipment, I obviously can't get a replica reproduction example, and I am keeping my eye out for an original one, but so far I haven't found one, unfortunately, and that would really sort of set off the equipment and allow me to show it a little bit more of a complete set than I currently have. So if I can find one of those, it will certainly turn up on the channel going forward. It would be nice to cover it in a bit more detail. As usual, if you'd like to know more about the equipment as a whole, go and look at Khaki Web. It's obviously the go-to generally for British equipment of the 20th century, I think it's fair to say. So do go and check out Khaki Web, the website, which has a whole section on the 1903 equipment if you'd like to learn more, of course. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more on the channel, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you would like to support the channel, you can. Both Patreon and PayPal are linked down below. And as I always say, a huge thank you to everybody who supports the channel using those two methods. It really is greatly appreciated. Thank you all very much indeed. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter are all linked down below. And if you'd like to get in touch with me but you don't really use social media, there is of course an email address in the description as well. That's everything for this video, so until next time, bye for now.